welcome back to Scouts Week Sports City, ladies and gentlemen. I'm back with my dad today. We're doing our college football and NFL predictions for the week. Finally, we have some football on the weekends to watch. So let's get into those predictions right now because we have a lot of games to cover, so let's get into those right now. First game out Thursday night, UAB and Miami. No problem here. I think the Canes will get off to a good start for the Handy Mannies, so I'll go give me the Canes at home.
I agree. Canes are going to win at home. I don't think Miami's been that great of a team, but UAB's not very good, so Miami gets a win.
Next up, Syracuse and North Carolina. North Carolina coming in with a lot of hype after a great season last year with Mac Brown. I think the hype is true this year. Give me the Tar Heels to get a win over Syracuse.
Syracuse normally gets one big upset a year. I don't think this will be the one, though. I think it's going to be North Carolina as well.
Next up, Louisiana Lafayette and Iowa State. Iowa State number 23 in the nation. Give me the Cyclones to get a win at home in Ames this weekend.
And I think I'm going to train monkey 3 in a row. Iowa State I'm going to take as well. They're very, very tough at home in Ames.
Next up, Eastern Kentucky and West Virginia. No problem here. Eastern Kentucky can't keep up with that offense. Give me West Virginia to get a win over Eastern Kentucky.
Give me West Virginia.
Next up, Louisiana Tech and Baylor. Again, Louisiana Tech can't keep up with the offense. Give me Baylor to get a win over Louisiana Tech.
These are too easy to pick.
I know.
Baylor's going to get the win big.
Next up, Duke and Notre Dame. Notre Dame coming in number 10 in the nation. Again, I believe overranked as most years they have been. I'm going to go with Notre Dame to get a win here over Duke on Saturday.
I agree, although there's not that many teams ranked this year with the Pac-12 and Big Ten being out of it. But I agree. Notre Dame's going to be Duke.
Next up, Georgia Tech and Florida State, the debut for Mike Norvell in Tallahassee this weekend. Give me the Noles to hopefully soften up Georgia Tech with UCF going into Atlanta next weekend. I'll take the Noles to get a home win over Georgia Tech.
As much as I would like to pick Georgia Tech in this game, just because I don't like the Noles, I think Norvell will get his first win at home against Georgia Tech.
Next up, Arkansas State and Kansas State should be a good game here. I'll go with Kansas State, even though Arkansas State looked pretty good last week. I'll take K-State to get a win over Arkansas State.
I agree again. Although Arkansas State is an underrated team, they've had multiple winning seasons in a row, but I think Kansas State gets a win.
Next up, Austin Peay and Pitt at Heinz Field. Give me Pitt to get a win at home against Austin Peay.
My gosh. This is 10 in a row?
Yeah.
Pitt as well. I think that.
I don't think we're going to disagree on any of these.
We'll see.
Next up, Montana State and Oklahoma. Again, no problem here. We're not disagreeing here. Give me Oklahoma to get a win big in Lincoln, in Oklahoma this weekend over Montana State. Missouri State doesn't matter.
Is it Montana State or where is it?
It's Missouri State. So
If Missouri State,
yeah.
I'm still going to take Oklahoma.
Yeah.
Missouri State, Montana State, doesn't matter.
Next up, Texas and UTEP at Darrell K. Royal Stadium. Half attendance this year at UT. I'll take Texas to get a win at home over UTEP.
Even with half the fans, Texas is a better organization, the better program. They beat UTEP.
Next up, Western Kentucky and Louisville. Give me the Cards to get a win over Western Kentucky.
Why am I even here? I'm getting every pick. Louisville gets the win.
Next up, Texas Tech and Houston Baptist. Give me Texas Tech to get a win here over Houston Baptist on Saturday.
I'm not sure I even knew Houston Baptist had a football team, so I'm going to take Texas Tech in this one.
Next up, Coastal Carolina, who won the NCAA baseball championship a couple of years ago, taking on Les Miles in Kansas. Give me Les Miles to start off 1-0 this year in the Big 12, so give me Kansas to get a win over Coastal Carolina.
Is it at Kansas or at Coastal Carolina?
It is at Kansas, I believe, this weekend.
Okay, I will take Kansas as well. I wanted to go there, but I went to Kansas.
Next up, College Game Day will be there this Saturday morning, 9 a.m. start time. There will be number 1 Clemson heading in to Wake Forest to take on Wake Forest. I will take Clemson big this weekend. No problem for Trevor Lawrence here. He's looking to impress the scouts and get ready for the NFL. I'll take Clemson big over Wake Forest this weekend.
The Clemson and Wake Forest is your game of the week. That's a pretty weak slate of games, so I will take Clemson as well.
Now into the NFL games.
We've written all of them?
Yep.
Holy moly.
Now into the NFL games for the week. There should be an exciting season of NFL football. First game out Thursday night. Deshaun Watson, who just got paid yesterday, taking on Patrick Mahomes, who also got paid this offseason. Give me the Chiefs at home at Arrowhead. Should be no problem here. I'll take the Chiefs to get a win at home against the Texans.
Texas will give them a better game than most people think, but I agree the Chiefs are going to win.
Next up, the Seahawks and the Falcons in Atlanta. Give me Russell Wilson and the Seahawks to get a road win in Atlanta against the Falcons.
As usual, Seattle's going to battle from behind and win in the fourth quarter, but Seattle will get the win.
Next up, the Jets and the Bills in Buffalo. Give me Josh Allen and that Bills defense to get a win this week. I'll take the Bills to get a win over the Jets.
Oh my gosh, we're not going to agree on every NFL game too, are we? I'm going to take the Bills as well at home. They're the better team, and they're also
Next up, the Bears at the Lions. Tough game here. Two teams that have different problems. The Bears don't have a great offense, and the Lions don't have a great defense. But I'm gonna take the upset. I think Matthew Stafford's in for a good year. I'll take the Lions to pull off a slight upset at home at Ford Field against the Bears.
I'm going the other way. I think the Bears are going to have a bounce back season. I think the Bears are going to get the win on the road.
I'm only doing that so we don't agree on everything. Next up, Packers and Vikings in Minnesota. I'm a believer in the Vikings this year. I think they could win the NFC North. Give me Kirk Cousins and the Vikings to get a home win over Aaron Rodgers and the Packers.
This is at Green Bay. I would take Green Bay, but since it's in Minnesota, I'm going to take the Vikings as well.
Next up, the Dolphins and the Pats. Just announced today, Ryan Fitzpatrick will be the starting quarterback this Sunday against Cam Newton and the Pats. Give me Bill Belichick and the Patriots to start off 1-0. No problem here. I'll take the Pats to get a win over the Dolphins.
Dolphins have always been the Pats' kryptonite one time per year. Just at Era, it was at Foxborough.
Yeah.
If it was in Miami, I would take Miami, but in Foxborough, I'm going to take the Pats.
Next up, the Eagles and the Redskins, who also played in Week 1 last season. Eagles came back to win that game. I'll take the Eagles to win more convincingly this year than they did last year. I'll take the Eagles on the road in Washington against the Washington football team.
I think this will be a close game again, but I also like the Eagles on the road.
Next up, the Raiders and the Panthers. Should be a high-scoring game. Something you love to see in the first week of the season. I'll go with the quarterback I trust more here. Give me Derek Carr and the Raiders to get a road win in Carolina against Bridgewater and the Panthers.
I'm going to take the Panthers at home here. I think Vegas is not a great team on the road. I'm going to take the Panthers.
Next up, the Colts and the Jags. No problem here. Give me Philip Rivers to debut in Indy with a win here. I'll take the Colts to get a win on the road in Jacksonville against the Jags.
Jags could be one of the worst teams in the NFL this season. I'm going to take the Colts in this one.
Next up, the Browns and the Ravens. Good game for Week 1. Give me Lamar Jackson and the Ravens to get a win here. I think Baker Mayfield's going to be better than he was last year, but I'm still going to take the Ravens to get a win here. I think it's going to be too much, so I'll take the Ravens to get a win over the Browns.
I agree. I think the Ravens are one of the 3 or 4 best teams in the NFL this year, so give me the Ravens.
Next up, the Chargers going on the road to take on Joe Burrow and the Bengals. Tough pick here. I'm going to go with Cincinnati here on my show, but I might have done something different in my pick'em league, so I'll take the Bengals to get a win at home against the Chargers.
You know, for Scott's buddy Kyle, who's a Chargers fan, I'm going to take the Chargers in this one on the road to beat the Bengals.
Next up, Bucs and Saints, America's game of the week. Tom Brady versus Drew Brees. Nothing better to start off the season. I'm going to stick with what I said, though. I think we're going to split the 2 games this year. I think both teams will win on home field. So with that being said, give me the Saints to pull off a win and spoil Tom Brady's debut. So I'll take the Saints at home over the Bucs.
Early in the year when Scott and I picked games, I actually picked the Saints in this one. But now that we have Fournette, and we've got a couple more additions since that pick, I'm going to take the Bucs on the road to get the win.
Yeah. I can see that game going either way. Next up, Cardinals and Niners. Good game, 2 very good teams. 2 teams I expect to maybe contend for a playoff spot this year. The Cardinals are just stuck in a really tough division. Give me Jimmy G and the Niners to get a win at home against the Cardinals.
This was at Arizona. I would be tempted to take Arizona, but at home in San Francisco, I'm going to pick the 49ers.
And now the first Sunday night football game of the season, and it'll be Dak Zeke and the Cowboys heading into LA to open up the new stadium there in LA against the Rams. Give me the Cowboys to get a big win on Sunday. I think the Cowboys are going to play well. They always play well on prime time. So I'll take the Cowboys to get a win over a Rams team who I think will be rebuilding this year.
You know, I always think the Cowboys are overrated just because of their name, but I agree. Rams will be better this year. Give me the Cowboys on the road.
Next up, the Steelers going into New York to take on the G-Men. First of 2 Monday night games this week. From my buddy Terry Jewell, give me the Steelers to get a win here. I think Big Ben's going to outduel Danny Dimes this week. Give me the Steelers to get a win over the Giants.
Terry Jewell, I agree with Scott. Steelers have one of the top 2 or 3 best defenses in the league this year. I'm going to take the Steelers to get the win on the road against the Giants.
Next up, Titans and Broncos on the late night game on Monday night. Give me the Titans to pull off a close win. I think Derrick Henry's going to run the ball really good this week. Ryan Tannehill will make some plays. Give me the Titans to get a close win in Denver against the Broncos.
I do not think the Titans were a fluke last year. I think they're going to be a legitimately good team this year. I think the Titans will get the win on the road.
And that will do it for this episode of Scott's Weekend Sports. Ladies and gentlemen, I'll be back next Saturday, probably with my Week 2 college football predictions and my Week 2 of the NFL predictions. I might be by myself for most of the season with my dad now working, but we'll see. We'll see how that goes. And I will see you guys right back here next week on Scott's Weekend Sports. See you later, guys.
See you guys.